someone spilled like Coke, so they had to actually like clean it up, and instead of just like moving him, they moved both of us just in case they need to get back there. But so the first match that we play is a PvP on Cloud Kingdom, and my opening for PvP is a DT opening. It's not a rush, but it's more like a let's open just a, I chrono boost out some units. So I chrono boost a Zealot and 2 Stalkers, and I use that to get some map control in order to shut down 4 gates. And if the coast is clear, I transition to Dark Templar. If the Dark Templar don't work, then Templar don't, just outright kill him or like do substantial damage, then I'll transition to Charge Lot Archon and normally go and Charge Lot Stun. On Cloud Kingdom, he used Blink, and I was not ready for Blink, and I got manhandled. So he was just able to, he was coming at my natural, and I would go down to defend it, and he'd just blink with my main and take pot shots at pylons or pot shots at probes, and I'd run back up. So the first game, after it was a lengthy time of this happening. Like, it was about 10 minutes, and I was just like, I can't get anything going. If I ever leave my base, I'm dead. So after a long war of attrition, just realizing that I was just way too far behind, I GG'd out. The second game was on Daybreak, and I did the same opening, but I adjusted my gas timings a little bit. Instead of getting a gas at 15 and a gas at like 19, I got both of my gases at 15 and just lightly saturated them. So it threw them off a little bit, but my DTs still weren't as successful. And I'm trying to remember what happened the second game. I think I wrote it down in my notebook. Because these games, like, the games were good. Oh, okay. So it was on Cloud Kingdom. And I did the Charge Lot Archon, and I did a very good job of knowing where his army was and what things were happening. He went for a Robo with +1 or with Forge upgrades, and after getting a very good decent sized Charge Lot Archon mix, I went double Robo. So I was using that in order to catch up. Unfortunately, it's not something I practice, but I was able to kind of keep him in his base with doing some kind of counter attacks and doing some War Prism stuff. I actually also used Hallucination that I've kind of been playing around with Heart of the Swarm. So I used Hallucination in the battle, and I did a really good job of just using Hallucinated Phoenix in order to keep a tab on his Blink Stalkers and his army. He was going to try to do the same Blink Stalker tactics because it worked fucking well. Why not do it again? But I was able to really shut him down because I knew where his Blink Stalkers were all the time. So in the second game, I had a better just kind of setup in terms of managing that. So the reason why I lost the game, and hopefully I'll someday be able to have access to the replays, but I don't think so, but I sent out a Hallucinated Phoenix, and I didn't spot his army, so I was like, I thought I was safe, and 8 Colossus are in my third. Just as like 20 probes are transferring, and it was just a very, very bad timing. So we exchanged armies, and his Colossus just murdered everything, and I respectfully tapped out and GG went to the lower bracket. But he was definitely a very, very high level player. It was an honor and a privilege to be able to kind of play against someone like that. Playing on the ladder, you're always going to be playing against someone that's close to your skill level. So having the opportunity to play someone that was just like way high level than you, and have it in a LAN environment or a competitive environment is always fucking awesome. So, so he beat me 2-0, and I was sent to the losers bracket. I did play enough on... the player I was playing against was Caliber Light. The I played enough that night, so I was able to get to Saturday. So I was like, hey, I gotta come back and play, which is fucking awesome. So I got to losers round 3. So pretty much the first 2 rounds of what the fuck was that popped? It was my ear. I don't know. So the first 2 rounds of that night, I was able to get to losers round 3. So that means I came back on Saturday at about 1 o'clock in order to play my round 3 match. So I went back to the competitor area. We watched some more games. Went back to the spectator area. One of the games that I recall watching on Friday night was the Scarlet, I think it was Bomber match. And Scarlet's a machine, and I'll try to remember, try to talk about that too. She was a delight to watch play. She also doesn't play with any game sound. She plays with her iPod, which fucking blows my mind. So we watched some games, and the way that they had it at MLG was they had the middle screen was the screen that you guys probably saw at home. It was the observer view, and then on 2 sides of the screen they had the player's in-game view. So like watching Scarlet and watching Bomber, I was able to see Scarlet's point of view and exactly what she's doing on her screen, and then I was able to watch Bomber's point of view and exactly what he was doing on his screen. So it was fucking awesome to be able to kind of see like what kind of things they're doing, and like the fact that they actually don't look at their armies that much. They're doing a lot of like they're almost even ignoring their armies. Like their armies are going to be okay as long as they're not like herb derping or something. But so it's just very interesting to kind of see that. What else happened Friday? Friday we were balls tired. I had a lot of caffeine too. I ordered about $30 for the caffeine products a couple months ago just to always kind of be alert when I was playing. So that brings us to Saturday. At about Saturday, I got there. They had warm up from like 8 to 10, but there's no way I was going to wake up in time. So I set the alarm, and I think we got to the venue at about 10:30, which they were already starting to do rounds, and they So Loving's asked a question, and I was kind of distracted about that. What about the delays on Friday? Yeah, the delay, like everything started at 6, and there really wasn't a good explanation for it, at least from a competitor standpoint, at least from my point of view, other than just things were delayed. So that's kind of the reason why things went a little bit long on Friday. But on Saturday, I got there. I didn't really have a good chance to warm up, so to say. I was able to get in, and I snuck in on a station, and I was able to get all my stuff hooked up. And I was loading into a practice game, like just a custom map, just to like make sure my settings worked. And they're like, at station 20, we need these 2 people. And I was like, well, shit, I can't. I gotta unplug and get up. So my next match was at like my next match was at 2 o'clock, and it was a guy by the name of GX Iron. He was a nice guy, and he was a Terran. And I started hooking up my station about 1:20, and he was there about 1:20 as well. So we had 40 minutes to warm up before we even had to play our match. So I just played a couple ladder. I played a couple ladder games and a couple custom games just to kind of get used to it. When we got into the match, it was PvT, and our first map was Entombed Valley. He was spawning on the top left, and I was spawning on the bottom left. So you can only spawn vertical or cross on MLG Entombed. You can't spawn horizontally, which is good to know because like up until Friday, I didn't know what the MLG terms were. Like I didn't know I didn't know exactly what happened, what was going on. So all the times I played the MLG maps, I've been scouting wrong because I'm a fucking idiot. So we're playing, and what I like to do is I like to do it about a 7.5 minute poke. take a good amount of sentries, good amount of stalkers, and poke in between 7 and 8 minutes, and kill their bunkers. Exploit any kind of corner cutting or anything else like that. He was playing extremely safe, and he would almost blindly do 2 bunkers every single game. One bunker was 2, it wasn't safe enough. 3 was kind of overkill. He'd always have 2 bunkers, and a poke at 7.5 minutes is hard to kill with just 5 sentries and 5 stalkers with 2 bunkers filled. So I lost some sentries that I didn't need to lose, and I fell back to my base. And what my follow-up was going to do Charge Light, Archon, and Storm. And I utilized some cannons in order to buy me some time, and just in case he tried to do any kind of cute drops. And I held off his very first push by the skin of my teeth. His medevac control wasn't great, and my cannons were able to take out his medevacs, and my charge lot and my stalkers were able to hold off while I was able to get Storm out. So the game kind of there was a lot of back and forth. There'd be times where I'd be up to his base and attacking him, and he'd push me back. But it was a lot of a game of attrition. He actually sniped my third once or twice. He was a little shit, and he kept taking hit squads of Marine Marauder and charging and just focus firing down my Nexus and killing it. And I fucking hate that shit. So that game went back and forth quite a bit, and then eventually it got to the point where I had enough Charge Lot Archon that was upgraded, and my Storms were excellent, that his army just that just melted. So eventually I was able to get up to his base, and I killed his 4th and his 3rd, and then he GG'd. I'm playing against GX Iron. He was just another kind of a no-namer in the tournament, so to say. So the second round was on Daybreak, and what I was going to do was I was going to do an Immortal all-in PVT, very similar to what Naniwa did to Flash on the 3rd game of their first Best of 3 series. The major difference was Naniwa and his timings were the same, but he proxied his Robo, which makes it a lot more successful. So I didn't proxy my Robo, so my Immortals were walking across the map. I was still able to do a significant amount of damage, but what I like to do is I like to do a Immortal Sentry, or a Immortal and a small amount of gateway units just supporting the sentries, or supporting the Immortals, excuse me. So, having some force fields, having some stuff to tank and just kind of do damage, and the Immortals are just there to kind of act as the carrot on a stick, but also act as the damage dealers. I killed a metric ton of SCVs and Marines, but he killed my Immortals, which were my linchpin, or me being successful. And he was able to chase my Warp Prism away and everything else like that. So I was on 1 base with some tech. He was on 2 bases with nothing. So what I was going to do was I was going to transition into a Colossus follow-up, 2 Colossus with range with 1/1, and go and push. But I missed my timing, and Mules are Imba. So he was able to do some drops and be successful because my range didn't kick in time. So he sniped both of my Nexi, and I had to GG. So we're tied 1-1, and that's when we go into our final map on Ohana. I spawned at the top, and he spawned at the bottom. And I did the same thing that I planned for. I did my Stalker Sentry poke. I saved my sentries, and I was going to do a Gateway Charge Shot Archon style, kind of like what MC does a little bit, in order to just get Storm out and just be able to kind of be successful. I was having some hotkey issues. So what I like to do is I like to have a Templar in each base, and then a hotkey group of Templar. So it's like, okay, I have these 5 Templar actually with my army, and then I have a Templar in each mineral line to feed back or Storm, depending on how much energy was available. But my both of those emergency base Templar were also on the hotkey too, and I didn't realize that. So when he's dropping in my base and sniping my Nexus, and I'm like, okay,